Coach, I think 10 days away from the opener now. Is this attention kind of shifted towards Washington now?
Yeah, there's no question. So, with school starting, getting into the rhythm, creating the rhythm of being in a game week, this is a bonus week of preparation. We used yesterday, Tuesday's practice, as an opportunity to clean things up from camp, be able to scout ourselves as we left camp on Saturday into Sunday, Monday into Tuesday, a great self-scout period where both sides of the ball are able to share ideas, thoughts on things that we saw or we experienced throughout camp, which is really beneficial. We had a great practice yesterday, which is essentially like a bye-week practice, 2 days combined into one to be able to hit different down and distance situations, field zone situations coming out of camp, based off our self-scout findings. And then obviously today was a great opportunity to have a bonus Tuesday to get ourselves in rhythm of what a in-the-season practice looks like, how everybody's roles fit. And as we go through this week, we'll continue to have the bonus week Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on. So it's really a good opportunity with the guys, now back in school, for them to get used to their schedules, for them to plan so that they can be efficient and be the best they can, obviously, while they're here in the facility. But not only that, then how they transition into going into school. For us, we may not think that's a big deal, but it's a lot, especially for some of the guys that, maybe took one class in the summertime. That's not a heavy load. Now we have 4 classes. We get to have the responsibility of preparing for a game each and every week.
So is the game plan like going this week then, or is that still a next week type thing, or how do you?
No, the game plan starts this week. Yeah, the game plan definitely starts this week, and so we are in that mode already of again a bonus Tuesday practice and so on as we work throughout the week through all the different situations as you would implement a game plan on a normal game week.
Bush was the OC there 3 years ago, 19.
Mm-hmm.
How does that for you maybe as a sounding board? He recruited some of these kids. I know it's a different head coach, but do you use Bush's intel in a situation like this?
Well, I would say this, that we always use each other's intel, just as we were talking about when we left fall camp on Saturday into Sunday. We're always picking each other's brain. Like, we talk about professional development, how we're going to grow. Like, you're missing a huge opportunity if you aren't constantly asking the other side of the ball. The cool part for me is I get to be on both sides of the fence now and see what's going on and what really matters on one side of the ball and what really matters on the other. And so we try to come together more than we ever have and share those things or ask questions from the other side of the ball instead of just trying to guess and assume. So not particular just because Bush worked there, but we typically do that. But yes, obviously personnel-wise, it's obviously a different head coach, a different offensive coordinator. They had an unbelievable year last year in the things that they did. So we got a great challenge to prepare for. So we're gonna use all the help, whether it's picking our offense coordinator, whether it's Nate in the run game, obviously Bush in the pass game and all those things. We're always working off each other.
How big a challenge is this? You look at what they have back, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They probably have as much back as anybody in the country. So
yeah, no question.
Rate it, and what maybe sticks out the most at the top of the mountain of what they do best.
Well, they're a very, very efficient offense last year. Obviously, they scored a lot of points, and what comes along with that is, their efficiency in certain downs and distances, their efficiencies in certain field positions. They have a quarterback coming back that is an elite player in the nation. They have some offensive linemen coming back, in particular some tackles that are very good players that obviously have the experience of playing, and they got one of the best wide receiver corps in the nation.
Does the calendar usually work out that you get that bonus week to prepare for the first opponent, or is that kind of unique to this year?
It's been that way for a long time.
We talked to Ben yesterday, and you've had, I think you guys are 3.5 weeks into this. What have you thought about, what he's done in terms of strength, in terms of, not a health question, but a health-related question, in terms of all that stuff? Like, what do you think of the work that he's put in and gotten guys?
Yeah, what Coach Hilgard has done with our strength and conditioning program and how it aligns not just from the physical gains, right? Because everything here in this game starts with the mental aspect, and a lot of more times than not in life, it always starts mentally. And how are you going to build that confidence through being competent, through hard work, through earning it, but then to be able to see the development physically of their bodies, not only what they look like, but physically, but how they move, how they change direction, the confidence that then comes from them working really, really hard and getting put through challenges by Coach Hilgard, by our staff as a whole as we work through the summer. I don't know if he shared numbers with you, and I don't obviously have them on me right now, but we hit PRs. We had seniors, 6-year seniors hitting 20 pound PRs this summer, which is awesome. They're moving better. So again, what naturally comes with that is that competence that leads to the real confidence.
I know you, as a coaching profession, you know all these coaches and stuff, you see them recruiting, but there are some former Broncos on that staff too. Just what are your thoughts, I guess, just going up against some of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, from our brotherhood, there's a lot of coaches. It's pretty cool. It's pretty unique brotherhood to be a part of, not just from playing here, but now within the college, coaching ranks. And so this isn't the only time that we play against guys that or coach against guys that we played with here. And so obviously I have the utmost respect for all of those guys. They're tremendous people and coaches, and so they've been very successful at the various places they've been, and we all know that you have had a successful year last year.
Coaches are very confident this time of year, and based on the things you've said since spring ball, you seem very, very confident about the direction of this program. Do you feel like your program right now, the big picture view, is in better shape than it's ever been under you?
Well, I would say like it's completely different, and it's because of the leadership and how they're leading. It's when in any organization, and especially in football, when the players can lead the standard and they understand what it is, and they know the expectation every single day, and they come and they build it and they do it, and it's not us always having to tell them. That's number one. That makes it really fun. You get to feed off of them too now. We're growing off of them. They're setting the stage, and so our leadership has done a good job. But as we move into new phases, right, we're in a game plan week now, so now it's them stepping up and making sure that the standard from A to Z on the roster is understanding what this looks like each and every day, because there's one thing that we don't get back right now, and that's time. So when we get a Tuesday, we get a Tuesday, and then we're on to the Wednesday. We got to move on. So being efficient that way, and it's shown, really since the beginning of the year with the core. We started out with 8 of the leaders coming back from last year's leadership group, and then really setting the stage, with the leadership of the staff and all of us working together and helping each other. And it's been really fun. Again, yeah, there's a tremendous amount of hard work that goes into it, but having fun and doing it too is what we like to see.
With you guys turning your attention to UW, what's the players' reaction when things kind of go from just focusing on your guys' sell-through most of fall camp to now actually getting prepared for somebody else? What is the player reaction when that happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody that's a former player, and goes through fall camp and knows, like, they're excited to see a new color on the film screen, and see some different personnel on the film screen, and it's just the excitement. Obviously, this is a huge challenge and our first opportunity, but as always, it's a 1-0 mentality. It's one game at a time. It's one day at a time. And again, like we just spoke about, that's why it's so important that the leadership and our leadership in this building sets that standard every day, and we work towards it in our preparation each and every week. But it's it's fun to turn the page. We start school. Shoot, it's a whole different look now. When school starts, it's like, whoa, summer's done. Fall camp went like that. We got to do dinner above the blue with a lot of our boosters to start off the week on Monday. That's a tradition that we've done here for a long time, to say thank you to all the awesome people that help support not only this program, but the athletic department, all the student athletes here, and allow us to, really allow us to be able to grow and do what we have in the last 2 years. While JD and we've been here, it looks, just not from the environment and the culture of what it is, but just the resources that are put into the student athletes and the staff too is awesome.
Well, with Jeremiah, I mean, when it comes to your philosophy on scheduling with football and stuff, I mean, obviously this game popped up, since you've been head coach with, playing Washington now. And just, some people do the cupcake first game. Some you guys have maybe done this a lot, where you play this tough one. What's your thoughts, I guess, of opening right out of the gate with a top 10 team like this?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I've always been in the mindset and the mode of, you're preparing to be your best in the first week, and the opponent, whether it's, the number whatever ranked team in the nation or whoever they are, you've got to prepare to be your best, because you only get so much time, and you've got to stack days on top of weeks and continue to get better and better. Obviously coming out of the gates, we played in kickoff classics here traditionally. We're obviously opening up on the road in their home stadium on national TV. That's a great opportunity for us. And like we always talk about, there's always an opportunity, but it's about the process that leads up to that opportunity and how we work each and every day to be our best, to be ready for that opportunity.
You talk about putting together a game plan. What's different about doing it for an opening week when you may have a little idea versus, say, week 2, when you at least have seen what the team's done?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, that's always a part of it in the first week. Obviously, everybody's had a full off season to self-scout, to make tweaks in what they did the year before. You know, one thing that could be very difficult if it was a new coaching staff and a new coordinator, and what does that really look like, you know, as to when you've got a returning coach and a returning coordinators and things like that. There's still a lot of, you know, there's a potential for unknowns, I should say, in all three phases of the game. And so that's why you have the summertime, fall camp to prepare yourself for all these things. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, we haven't just looked at ourselves, you know, from the other side of the ball all through fall camp. All through fall camp, we're constantly looking at our opponents this year because ultimately that's what we're preparing for.
It didn't happen a lot, but when opponents slowed down Michael Penix Jr. last year, what did they do well?
Well, we'll obviously get into a lot more of that next week when we get to the press conference. But they're very, very explosive in the pass game. So the pass game's always on rhythm. I mean, they didn't give up very many sacks last year. So naturally, when you're talking about stopping a good pass game, that's one of the first objectives. Is that you've got to disrupt the timing.
I think on Saturday you said that nothing would surprise you about the self-scout. Like you knew what you were going to see. But was there something that came out of that you really want to emphasize with your guys this week?
You know, it's almost for me, it's like biting my tongue, can't wait to that point because all along we're just writing stuff down, taking notes, and obviously getting ourselves ready to get to the point where, you know, we've been in camp. Summertime access with the players looks a lot different than it always has, and you get into camp and you're further along, and so that's why I say like we're further along to X's and O's wise than we typically are because of the access that the NCAA has given us in the summertime. But for us, you know, it's at the end of the day, it still comes down to the basic fundamentals of the game that you've got to be able to have the complete confidence so that you can react and play fast at, you know, at all positions, all levels of the offense, the defense. So I couldn't really point out one thing. The one thing that I do know that shows up a lot is their operation of special teams and the logistics of getting on the field, because when you're in practice, you're waiting for a scout team to get out there. That's not the case when you're in the game. You got to handle a play clock just like the offense does. So that was one huge component for our team when we're all working together, is making sure that we're on point with the operation and the mechanics of our special teams.
What if
CJ Tiller's been on campus in over almost 9 months now. How was his fall camp going? I mean, you mentioned that you don't have a big play on the scrimmage on Saturday, but how was he doing as a young kid, obviously?
So, I mean, it's been awesome to see him grow from the springtime. It's a difficult position to play, let alone when you enroll early. You know, there's a lot on your plate. There's a lot to learn, and it's not just all X's and O's. There's being in a new environment, being away from home, the mental demands of the game of playing that position, not, again, just the X's and O's wise, but everything that goes along with the leadership part of that. We've seen tremendous growth within that. We've been working to have both him and Mad Dog split the orange, and after Saturday's last scrimmage there in fall camp, you know, CJ and Mad Dog have done a really, really good job, and we're excited about what they both bring to the table. But obviously, we got to declare one as we move forward into game week. So we have declared that Maddox will be the second string quarterback at this point. While we're still obviously got an unbelievable plan for CJ to continue to develop and get reps both mentally and physically within our practice structure and what we're doing.
Coaches by nature are paranoid. It's part of the profession. How would you rate your level of paranoia?
To be honest with you, I don't really focus on the things that we can't control, and that's been whether I'm in this position now or the other roles that I've had within this game as a player. That's the one thing that I'm always going to hang my hat on when it comes to that. So I have the utmost confidence in the people around us, whether it's the staff or the players, and the things we do control, as we just talked about, because of what this environment and what this culture looks like now. And I'll tell you, like, we work long, hard days, Mike. I mean, we're in that mix already. Probably because of how hard we work, and and what our culture is and what our environment here, it doesn't take me long to fall asleep at night.
Couple more.
You wish you were playing a 0 week this week. I mean, not that you would have gotten to start a week earlier, but would you ever want to play a 0 week? Would it be a benefit or no?
I mean, you get another bye week in the middle of the season. So a couple years ago, we had 2 bye weeks. I kind of didn't mind it, but I like football. That didn't matter to me that the season was another week long.
What impact has Sam had and bringing a nutrition department to Boise State? What impact has that had these last couple months?
Well, I think that's a big part. I'm glad you asked that because we were talking about Coach Hilgart earlier, and really, I mean, the players don't have the games they do with Coach Hilgart. Obviously, it goes hand in hand, right? You got to have the nutrition, you got to have the hydration process, and ultimately you got to get the rest that we're talking about too, to be able to develop mentally and physically. And so, the way this whole plan has come together with how Coach Hilgart fits, how Sam fits, being able to have Sam, full-time attention on the football program as she does oversee, and how we've been able to hire more nutritionists to help oversee the other sports teams. I mean, let's just say this, 2 years ago when we got here, we didn't even have a nutritionist at all. And so it's not only the personnel, right, but then that's what we're talking about before. We're very grateful for, some of the leadership in this community and really some outside this community that help us with the resources to provide the proper nutrition to the players so that their bodies can recover and then develop, And the plan that's gone into that, we've seen our players through camp, what they look like going into camp. They haven't lost their gains coming out of camp. I mean, that's one big thing that we look at, how much the guys weigh going in, where were they running, on the GPSs and their outputs on stuff, and where we come out of camp. We have not lost, and in fact, we have even gained. And so, that we tip our hat to not only our nutrition department with Sam and Coach Hilgart and our strength and conditioning, but a big piece of that too is, our medical team too, and how those three come together to provide an environment where guys can push themselves. There's a great plan for them to develop.
You mentioned the kicking game after the last scrimmage. We haven't heard much about punting. And I guess maybe just special teams in general. How do you feel about how that's coming along in camp?
Yeah, James is, I just saw a mullet. I thought it was James. It wasn't James's mullet though. It was Seth's mullet. You know what, James has done an unbelievable job. Obviously, we're really excited about his growth over the year. I mean, between him and Jonah, they've done a really, really good job in this fall camp. Not only with their operation and execution within the special teams, but how they're leading the specialists as well. And it's pretty cool to see these two. They've been around each other, how they operate, how they work off of each other. James has a unique punting style where he can do a bunch of different things, which is really cool. He provides an ability to change the game with certain things that he's able to do, because this game is all about field position, and he's a huge factor when it comes to those things. I will say this now too, it's the overall core. Coach DeMar Warren calls it the we fence, right? Because it's when all of us are together. It's not the offense, it's the defense, it's the we fence. And so now our core guys of everybody coming together on that, whether you're a senior and you're a starter, or you're a freshman. We'll get into it more as the season goes on, but you guys will see it too. I mean, there's some young, true freshmen that have earned the right to fight for special teams, if not backup positions, starting positions right out of the gates, which is awesome to see. And obviously it starts then too with the competitive level. We got to have our experienced players playing special teams as well if we intend to change the game.
Have you settled on a punt return, kick return guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't see it changing much from last year. Where we finished last year, all those guys are returning.
Anything else?